All right, people. It's that time. Well, it's almost that time, and apparently it's already been blown. This just doesn't happen for the Lions. The schedule gets released way early, so if you haven't seen it already, let me know in the chat if you have. If it is true, let me get this music kicked off here. I know some people don't like this music. All right, so if you guys love the rumors and the leaks that have been happening already, I mean, I do. If they're accurate, if they are correct, then my source was spot on. Minor adjustments on a few things. And we'll talk about all that. And Corey's going to join us, I don't know, 5, 10, 15 minutes or so. Honestly, tonight's really just about him, man. I can't wait to see his first reaction to the schedule. And I guess his hot takes, or just plain takes of what he's thinking, the win column and how many games are we going to win based on what the schedule is looking like. So I'm excited. I'm generally excited to finally see a new fan, of the Detroit Lions have an opportunity to look at this for the first time with us and kind of give us their fresh ideas. So let me just make sure I've got that screen open so I can actually see that he comes in. And Corey, if you're listening, just make sure that you go to the same link. Give me just a few moments. I wanted to get this kicked off a few minutes early so we could have some conversation, kind of get your thoughts on some of the leaks. And roll from there. So before I do that, though, there's more important business and news than just the schedule tonight. I saw the post from Jeff Iafrate about his girlfriend's mother and diagnosed with MS, doing an MS walk this weekend. If you guys have the time to do it, please go join the walk. Help them out. Unfortunately, I won't be able to, prior commitments. But what I put out there is I'm going to match the first $100 between now and 10 p.m. If you go and donate to the link that is on my Twitter, the link that I put in the pinned message, Rockhound Cancer Foundation will step up and donate $100 to the cause for Jeff Iafrate's girlfriend's mother. And MS, listen, it struck my family too, and my uncle, who was one of the nicest dudes, man. Just an outdoorsy guy. He was like what they called the Great White Hunter in Michigan. Like, he was very well known throughout the 70s, 80s, and 90s as the best hunter in Michigan. And it debilitated him and took his ability to do that. I shot my first deer with a crossbow because of him, when I was like, I don't know, 14, 15 years old or something like that. Because he had to use a crossbow because he was disabled. And so I've seen the disabling effects of what MS can do to people. Totally healthy 1 minute, not healthy, within a couple of years. It really takes hold. So this community is the best community. You guys have always supported me and the Rockhound Cancer Foundation and others that we don't even know, right? And again, this is another person that we don't know. We know Jeff. We don't know Ashley and the mom involved. So I know that the One Pride community will stand up. You always do. And even $1, man. Even $1 helps because that'll get my $100 donated quickly, right? So appreciate you guys and anything that you do. Remember, if you can't, you can't. Like, don't do something you can't do. Do whatever you can do. More important, just send a message, right? All right, live chat is kicking. I think we got some things rolling. I think we're good. Okay. Man, leak season, right? No, I'm not saying, pissing on a tree or going to the bathroom. No, it is schedule leak season. And all my windows closed. This is awesome. So I put out a couple of posts, and on those posts where, what the leaks that I heard, and I put it out, I believe, last night in the members only first, so you guys could get that opportunity to take a look at it. And Sorry, I'm trying to do 6 things at once here. And then I put it on my X today. And it's pretty close, like pretty spot on so far. And I'm trying to get to my post here because I can't remember everything I said. And let's see how many we got right. If this is valid, we won't truly know if it's valid until after 8 o'clock tonight. Schedule will be released by 8 o'clock. Now, they say that it was released early. If you believe that's the schedule, then if it's accurate, then great. So here's what this schedule says. Let me look if these are correct. Green Bay, Chicago, Baltimore, Cleveland, Bengals. Okay. These are jiving. And where is my schedule? One sec. Here we go. I said this. I said the Lions will open at home on Sunday night versus an NFC North opponent. It appears the Lions will be away to open up against a NFC North opponent on a Sunday afternoon, right? It's semantics, so it's the afternoon. Maybe that game is actually a night game. We don't know yet, but it's an afternoon game in Green Bay, 4:25 p.m. Eastern. According to these leaks, this is not the official schedule. So we got that one, I'd say 75% right, okay? Primetime games, 2 Monday night games, 2 Sunday night games is what I was told. And according to the leaks, what we are seeing is the second game that I said that they would have would be away at the Eagles on Sunday night. Appears that's a home run. Grand slam. Got it right. And then away at the Rams on Monday night. I don't see. So it says the Rams on December 14 at 4 p.m. That's got to be a Sunday, I assume. Hold on. Where is he? So it appears that we are playing the Eagles. Obviously, we're away at the Rams. We knew that, but it doesn't appear to be a Monday night game. So that one could be off. But so far, doing good, right? 1, 2, I'm 3 out of 4. And then we have another Monday night game at home and then another Sunday night game away. And it appears that is factual. Talked about an extra Thursday night game. What I was under the impression is that the Thursday night game was before Thanksgiving and that they would get a later bye week. Well, according to this, they're getting week 8. Well, at least it's later. Well, we got that kind of right. I was hoping like week 14, 15, or 13 or something, right? Whenever the latest bye week is. But I guess beggars can't be choosers. According to the leaks, though, the Lions did get an extra Thursday game. It's on Christmas. So we've got Christmas and Thanksgiving. I never would have thought that they would make one team play 2 major holiday games. I mean, we play Thanksgiving every year, and I get it. Like, the Lions are going to make a big draw. They're going to pull a big draw. Say that again, right? When's the last time you said that? Outside of the last couple of seasons. But that means these players got to be away from their families too, right? On both. And you saw Anzalone, who said his heart's just broken over this. Christmas obviously is a big deal, in his family. At least that's the reaction that I took from it. Is that it's a big deal. Corey's trying to get in here. Okay. All right. I see him waiting for me. Let me just get him in here. Sorry, Corey. One sec, buddy. 1 second, people. Be right back. Whoops. Thought I had him in. 3, 2, 1. Bingo. There he is. Caught him drinking. Corey, what's happening?
Drinking.
What's happening, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm good too. You've been paying attention to all these leaks that have been coming out today?
Yeah, the leaks that came out before the official announcement. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of sucks, doesn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. Are we reacting to the leaks?
Well, I mean, I guess I'm guilty because, I was reacting to the leaks a little bit. I mean, I guess I'm guilty too, right? Because I put out a little bit of what I heard last night and then again today. And it's so far, if it holds true, a couple of them are correct. So far, like 4 or 5 of them are correct. So I'm good with that. I appreciate having a good source, but I don't think I'm going to do it next year. I think I'm not going to participate in the leaking process, because then when someone leaks the whole schedule, if that's actually factual that it's the whole schedule, it's like, come on, like we waited all day for this, weeks for this, honestly. So.
And they get all creative, all the teams, they like to drop the information in super creative ways, and that's usually fun. And then if you get the information ahead of time, then you're like, it takes a little of the luster away from it. Even if right, they're gonna cook up something funny. I think I saw some random Chargers stuff on Twitter or X, and it was like they were representing their opponents as Pop-Tarts, which is funny. Yeah, literally, like for Trevor Lawrence, it had hair, and it was just like, and now it's probably a spoof or whatever, but it's like, dude, those are some of the funniest things that they get to do, those media teams. And then we're taking their thunder from them, So, man, yeah, it's a bummer, but it's fun to talk about. I mean, I think it's that being the first to know type of thing.
Yeah, and you know what? The more I thought about it, like even today, I was thinking, okay, so last year, Riley just reminded me of this today, that I got it right last year on how many primetime games we were going to have. And that was through sources, people that I know that work close to the NFL or in. I'll never say who, so don't ask anybody. I know you all been asking. But now the more I think about it today, it's like, I'm not doing it for clicks. Like I'm not doing it for money. You know what I mean? So like, I think I'm just going to stay away from it. Because now I feel shattered inside that if this schedule is actually correct, I feel shattered because, everyone's wishing it wasn't out yet.
Yeah, and there's some big games.
Huge games.
And on big holidays, so that's always interesting, Those are the big reactions, and now we're losing all those reactions live.
Well, we're still going to get them because, when the schedule actually comes out, I mean, then we know it's for real. We know it's for real.
Confirmation.
Yeah. Everybody in
the shield.
Yeah, everybody in the chat, do me just 1 second. What shield? What are we talking about?
The NFL shield. When it has the NFL shield.
Oh, yeah, gotcha.
Then it's legit.
Yeah, everybody in the chat, do me a favor. How are our audio? Are we fairly similar? Does Corey need to go up a little bit in volume? I can't tell.
I'm busting open the chat now, too.
I don't know how we're sounding. I'm still working on creating scenes for you. I got a bunch of weird stuff going on with my computer. I didn't even know if I was going to be able to get this going off tonight. Come on now. Here we go. Where's the chat?
Pop up my chat.
Corey, you could come up
Corey
a little.
Come up a little.
All right. I trust Michael. Sometimes we get the same people in here that always say they can't hear us, and it's like
Maureen.
Maureen's
hello,
good.
Mic check. They say they want to hear me. I'm talking about nothing. What I do best.
Sometimes that's when the best thoughts come out. Honestly. So, all right, let's do a little bit of reaction anyway to what we know, but we don't know. We don't know what we know, but we don't know what we know anyway. So we're going to talk about it. So if the Lions have Christmas and Thanksgiving, they've always had Thanksgiving. So if they have Christmas now, what is your thought process like? I mean, I seen Alex Anzalone's tweet, his broken heart. And I can imagine that if they've got to be away from their family for 2 holidays, not just the same old Thanksgiving, but now Christmas, and it's away. What would your reaction be if you were playing in the NFL? And I guess what is your reaction if it is true?
Yeah, I think it's tough for guys with families, right? I mean, maybe it's not as tough for my brother, rookie, trying to make his mark on the league. He's probably like, this is exciting. I think for Lions fans, I think it's exciting because we'll all be with our families, right? And there's nothing better to do with your family, right? Than to turn on the TV and watch your favorite team beat up a divisional opponent, right? That sounds great, right? That's a Christmas present for everybody. But the guys on the field, yeah, it's got to be tough. Um, you love doing what you do, and you love having that national stage, but I'm sure there is a large percentage of them that would wish maybe it wasn't on the actual day so they could celebrate. I'm sure they'll make adjustments like they always do, and I'm sure the team will accommodate them and try and celebrate the best. But it's definitely never the same, right? From the traditional spending the morning, waking up with your family, and seeing that joy on your kids' faces. That's tough for those vets, especially with family. And but you know what? It's I, I've always wondered, what is it like when you're away traveling in general, right? As an NFL, I guess I'm going to learn this a little bit more, with a close connection to a player. But how much do the families get to see of their players during the season? That'd be something I would be interested to ask some of those vets. Besides whether or not it's Christmas or one of those major holidays.
I think that's great question to ask Ahmed to see if when he does develop relationships with guys, like what is it like? What is it like? We'd love to know. I mean, not to pry too deeply, but a lot of Lions players they talk a lot about their families, and a lot of the guys have kids and multiple kids by now. I mean, the entire offensive line is just having babies at the same time. We're all getting married at the same time. It's like they're in trouble. All right, so I want to know your thoughts in the chat then. I mean, Lions on Christmas. So you mentioned that we'll all be with our families. I probably won't be because, well, I probably will be. I probably will be because we're supposed to be doing the away trips, and that's one of them. So Vikings, Bears, and Packers games, away bus trips, and so if the bus fills up, if we get more than 35 people signed up, the bus is going. And if the bus is going, I'm not there. So I won't be home. But that means Megan should be coming with me, hopefully. And maybe my two boys will have some time away and they'll be able to fly out from Florida and make it happen. So it'll be interesting. Biggest game of the what could be the schedule. If this is accurate, I honestly, looking at this, I'm like, this is perfect. Outside of the last two games, the way that those end up, Baltimore week 3, the Browns week 4, the Bengals week 5, Kansas City week 6. It couldn't have ended up any more perfect than that when you think of the cold. The Eagles on November 16, I mean, it could be mid-40s out. That's not cold. That's not cold for these guys. I love it. I think that, with the away games, the way they line up, the Bears is the hardest one. The Bears would be the hardest game at week 18 in the way that they shafted the Lions with 2 divisional games to end the season. Bears, Vikings. That's kind of nuts. No one is seeing what I'm talking about. I should probably.
And again, I'm pulling it up here.
And again, this is not confirmed. I want to make sure
confirmed.
you guys understand that. This is not confirmed. This is hearsay right now. It's leak season.
Yeah, King SJ says mixed emotions on the Christmas game. I think that's everybody, right?
Yeah.
Common theme here, mixed emotions. I know you mentioned some of those early games were going to be getting some of those major opponents out of the way and those cold environments out of the way. That's
All right, so everybody should be able to hear us and see this. You can hear me, Corey, right? Hold on. I can't hear you. One sec. One sec, buddy. I just got to get your camera. All right, Corey, you can hear me now? What did I do? I did something wrong.
Can the chat hear me?
Oh, wait, now I can hear you. There we go.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, everyone should be able to hear you now.
All right, cool.
So you can see the screen. Everybody should be able to see and hear us. This is the major leak that came out, and as you can see, Baltimore week 3 away game, and then we go. So I love the way the schedule lines up: away, home, away, home, away, home, bye, home, and then 2 of the toughest games back to back: the Cardinals and Philly, but it's in decent weather. And then back home, a 3-game homestand. And then away out to LA, sunshine in a dome or half a dome. Back to Pittsburgh, where it could be, could have been cold, but we're going to be in a dome at home. And then away to end the season. Vikings and Bears. So if this is correct, run me through it, Corey.
Yeah, the first thing that jumps out to me is 2 divisional games to start, 2 divisional games to end, right? So we're talking about wanting to start off fast. I think playing at Green Bay, it's better than playing them late in the season at Green Bay in that cold temperature. So excited to get that one out of the way, and then get Chicago right after that. If that's when we get to go see Ben Johnson, then that'll be fun. Right. Right away. He doesn't have a ton of time to get the team under his belt, and we'll see how they start their season. I don't know who they open up with, but we could both be 1-0 going into that week 2 game. But then, coming back, like you had mentioned earlier, we got the Vikings on Thanksgiving. They're the Thanksgiving game, I believe, or no, they're the Christmas game. They're the Christmas game, and then and then we come back with the Bears right after that. So, those are going to be 2 tough ones, and you never know where we're going to be sitting at the end. And those could be extremely, extremely important, valuable division games, and they're both away. So, going to be a tough environment either way. Like, I know Vikings is indoors, but that environment is something in itself. And so, great fans up there in Minnesota and their skull chant. It'll be fun to see if we can take that from them on Christmas and then go out into the cold and see how Jared Goff and Caleb Williams can duel it out in Chicago. That'll be interesting.
So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to put this up in the middle, which I need to figure it out. I did a piss poor job at trying to get this ready. I apologize.
Oh, no problem. Joseph Murdoch's in chat says week 8 bye is nice. That is definitely nice. I heard last year it was week 5.
Yeah, we were crushed. Oof. We had the second, earliest bye, and then everybody that we were going up against, towards the end of the season that would have mattered, whether it was playoffs or late season run, they all had a late season bye. So here's something I want to throw out, and I love the ebb and flow to this. Bears and Lions week 2. We don't know each other yet. Technically, we don't have any tape other than week 1. So we each get 1 week of tape on each other, right? No one has a week 1 bye. We go take on the Bears at home. Dan's going to stomp them, completely stomp them out. But then they give the Bears another 16 weeks of tape on the Lions to finish up the season. And if you think, you put that tinfoil hat on, they're thinking if it's an NFL narrative, it's going to be the Bears and the Lions for the NFC North. Winner takes all to the playoffs. What do you think?
That's what it looks like they're setting it up. You never know how the games will play out, but that the NFL is strategically placing certain games at certain times for certain reasons. And if all things go as you would expect, right? Chicago doesn't have their feet underneath them week 2, and we handle business at home. and then they get that revenge tour at the very end of the season to come back and see if they can match back up with a whole season under their belt. I mean, they better hope they don't have injuries and are dealing with things like we did last year, because I don't think the result will be much different than week 2 if we come back around week 18. But you never know. And then there's always those weird scenarios. Maybe we do take care of business, and that week 18 game is one of those ones where we get to rest a couple guys and get them healthy before the playoffs because we've already wrapped it up earlier in the season. That would be really nice, and not have to worry about going into that cold environment and putting some guys at risk. I think that's wishful thinking on my part. Obviously, divisional games are always going to be tough, and when you're playing against your former offensive coordinator, new head coach, the guys will get up for that game no matter what. If we're sitting pretty or if we're fighting for a spot, I think that's going to be a game to watch, especially like you said, giving them the chance to really get their feet wet and get that experience together. And that we talked about cohesion this whole week, and how long it's going to take those pieces that they brought in and drafted to gel with that new head coach and staff. So it'll be interesting to see the Chicago Bears this year, and it'll be fun to kind of measure ourselves at the beginning and then again at the end against them.
If, again, remember, this is not confirmed that it's Bears week 2 at home and then it's Bears to end the season away week 18. Okay, so let's move to the first non-divisional game, which is Baltimore. How lucky would we actually be to be able to play Baltimore away on September 21st? I mean, you're at the tail end of the summer. You're getting into fall. It's perfect football weather. We all know how it is on a crisp Saturday morning, sitting in the bleachers, potentially watching your son play football, in the little leagues. And it's just a beautiful morning, and you got the fall leaves. This is a Baltimore game in Detroit, setting up to be the same way. But there's a whole lot more on the line here. This is a team that completely kicked us to the curb stomped us a few times, and then left us for dead. We've got to bounce back against the Ravens. If we really get an opportunity this early in the season against them, it couldn't have turned out any more better than that.
Yeah, I think that's been the game that I've been talking about as probably the toughest on the schedule, if not one of the top 3 toughest on the schedule. And so to get that out of the way when you're fresh, you're hoping that by week 3 you have a fairly fresh and injury-less roster. And yeah, there's no better time to try and chase Lamar around than when you have fresh legs, right?
For sure.
So, yeah, I think that's great for us, and it'll be interesting to see. Again, Green Bay, Chicago, the first 2 games, maybe not the most, statistically difficult or like setting up to be the most difficult, probably favorited in both of those games, even away at Green Bay. But we come into week 3, that's going to be the real deal, right? That's going to be like, if we're 2-0 going to play at Lamar, it'll be interesting to see the line on that. And they just came out with some news today. They just paid Derrick Henry the largest, for someone over 30, the largest contract ever, re-signing him for 2 more years. So yeah, we've got a running game. They've got a running game. That'll be a fun matchup to keep your eyes peeled for. And yeah, I mean, good football on both sides, and it'll be interesting to see how we match up against Lamar, man. I don't remember those trouncings that they put on us because I wasn't quite yet dedicated to the den, but now that I'm there, I can feel the pain that you must have felt already. Because it's when you become a fan, man, those wins are great, but those losses, they hurt even more. And so yeah, I'm not looking forward to them, but it's part of the territory. So I'm expecting at least a little bit of pain.
Well, I gotta say that I have my outlook on if this is accurate, my outlook on this season, wins and loss column just changed dramatically. I couldn't, and we'll run through it when we get the actual schedule. We'll do a little win-loss. Could you guys tell me in the chat, weren't the Detroit Lions supposed to do a live event tonight? Because I don't see anything scheduled. I thought Danny Rogers and Tim Twentyman or Danny Rogers and somebody was supposed to do a live event tonight for a scheduled release. and I'm not seeing it. I don't see anything scheduled, and I don't know. Maybe I misread something, but I thought that they were. I guess we got 4 minutes until we are supposed to see the real schedule, but we know every time it's usually 7, 8, 10, 12, 15 minutes later that we actually get in and get the schedule. You know what I should check? I should check my media login. That's what I should do. And I'm trying to find it, on NFL Network too. If you want to dial into some things and see if, whether it's ESPN or whatever, and see if you can see schedule release. I'm getting into NFL Network right now.
I think it was Art who was mentioning something about the week 12, 13 matchups are like 4 days away from each other. And
Which
I think
ones?
it's always kind of the week 12, 13. I think it's the Giants at the Giants, then at Green Bay for Thanksgiving. And, it's always tough when you go for Thanksgiving and you play on Thanksgiving because then you got that quick turnaround. But, man, 4 days that just sucks. That sounds worse to me than playing on Christmas because I know what it's like to not be recovered from a game and then to have to go play again right after. It is a challenge. And this is, I've never played in the NFL. Those guys are, whew.
Well, I will tell you this,
Lions.
that may look bad, and I can't remember the exact games or the dates, but the Lions literally played, I think it was 4 games in 21 days, and I think 3 of them were in 11 days, either last year or the year before. So they've put the Lions through some BS. They absolutely have, and this to me is. This is the biggest failure by the NFL. There is absolutely a way that you can give the Lions a bye week in week 12 and avoid that whole thing on Thanksgiving to only having 4 days of rest. You could have given them a Thursday game on week 12, just give them a bye. Then they have a Thursday game, and then don't give them another game until week 14 on Saturday, Sunday, or Monday, and then they get a full 10 days off. So you get a week before and 10 days off after. You're making them play on Thanksgiving anyway. Why you shafted them with 4 days off? This honestly, I get a little angry inside because when you think about player safety and how Roger Goodell and the NFL are up there speaking nothing but we want the players to be safe. We want the players to be taken care of. We care about the players. That's not caring about the players. Yeah. Not one team, not just the Lions, but not one team should only have 4 days off. I'm sorry. Do better. There's a way you can do better here. And I'm not saying that I could schedule, 32 teams, 272 games in a season and get it right every time. But that I would get right. I would make sure I got that right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that is an argument for a different show, what the NFL says and does, right? And there's a lot of money out there. That's all I'll say. And at the end of the day, it's a business, and it's something I had to remind my brother, recently. It's like, man, you are actually a professional now, and it's there are some realities that come with that are not necessarily nice to think about, which is injuries happen, right? You're not going to always want I'm not saying you don't want to play, but it's like, man, there is no, just like with us, right? When you don't want to go to work and you still have to, you're not feeling it, right? And our bodies aren't breaking down. We're not getting in car accidents like you were talking about. Like, these are literal car accidents. That's what it feels like for these dudes every week. And then to turn right back around and put your body on the line again the next week. Luckily, you're doing it for a team that loves you and a fan base that cares about you, and for your brothers alongside of you. But man, like I have a hard time getting up out of bed sometimes, and I'm not going to go fight basically a bunch of other dudes, and sacrifice my body. So, obviously they're making a nice chunk of change, but man, it's like, it's difficult.
All
1
right.
minute. It's on the Lions YouTube. We're going to live stream this guy.
Schedule's out.
Let's go. Let's see it. What is it?
I've got the schedule. It has now been released. I don't see anything live, but the schedule is now live. And I'm going to get it pulled in here. Give me just 2 seconds.
Looks like the Lions are doing like a release reveal show on YouTube.
They are?
Yeah, I think Marine put the link in the chat. It's also on their Twitter or X. They just dropped it 1 minute ago. You can watch it presented by Ticketmaster on YouTube. So I don't know if we could live stream that video, but
It's presented by who?
by Ticketmaster, but it's on YouTube. They're streaming it on YouTube.
And what about it's streamed on X too? X I can probably bring in, but YouTube I have a problem with. Let me get this one in first. Here's your schedule. 2025 Detroit Lions schedule. Uh-oh, it's not there. Psych.
Woo! There we are.
Here it is on the Detroit Lions website. If this is it, I mean, so this means that the leak that we were seeing is accurate. The Lions do head to Lambeau week 1 against Green Bay. So, Corey, give me your reaction to the Lions going on the road week 1 against the divisional opponent, Green Bay Packers.
Let's get it. Let's get it.
Hold on, buddy. Hold on. 1 second.
Oh,
sorry. I'm going to have to do that again. Something happened with your audio when I switched.
No worries.
Okay, so Corey, give me your reaction. Week 1, Lions have to go on the road against the divisional opponent, Green Bay Packers.
I think it's a great matchup for us. I think it's a great way to start the season. It's a great way to get the Green Bay game out of our way. We're not going to be going to Green Bay late in the season when it's nice and cold. We're not going to be playing on the frozen tundra. As chat likes to say, FTP, which could be a B if you just add another loop. Either one, right? Either divisional opponent, we're not really fans of. And so I know I have Packer fans in my family that were sad to see my brother go to the Lions, and they're going to be extra sad when their team starts 0-1 because my brother and the Lions take care of business in Lambeau on week 1. They had the excitement of the draft, and then their hopes are going to be quickly dashed in week 1. That's my opinion. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I love it. I'm going to switch in just 1 second. If you wouldn't mind, just dial your gain back like 2 dots or whatever.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, Lions on the road versus Green Bay week 1. Look, Trace in the chat just made a wonderful point here. Brian Branch won't be ejected in this game. What a bunch of BS. I'm sitting in the stands. It's raining cats and dogs. Monsoon in Green Bay. Brian Branch, ticky-tack penalty downfield, gets ejected from last year's game. And we thought that was it. That's all she wrote. The game's rigged. Lions are going to lose. Nope. Jared Goff got these guys right back together. Kirby Joseph comes in and steals an interception. Lions win the ball game. And that's what's going to happen again. But I got to tell you guys, if you want to come with me to the game and be part of the luxury charter to Green Bay week 1, you've got to get your deposits in. I'll post everything on X. I'll make sure I post it on the YouTube post as well. I'd love another 45 fans to come with me. It's inexpensive to go. You don't have to drive. You just got to show up, and we take care of the rest. More to follow on that. So let's get into Game 2. Game 2 is back-to-back games for the Detroit Lions on divisional games here. They come back home in week 2 up against Benedict Arnold Johnson here in the Chicago Bears. It's going to be a Sunday 1 o'clock game as it sits right now. So, Corey, I'd love to get your reaction about finally it's the David and Goliath, right? It's the master and the grasshopper. It's Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson. What are your thoughts about the Lions doing this in week 2?
Yeah, not because of Mike Ditka's Fury, who's been a recent, attendee to the show, which we appreciate. I'm excited to see this matchup just because of all the intricate, details surrounding both teams. Where it'll be exciting. We know what has changed with us, and we know a lot has changed with the Bears. But are they going to be the same old Bears? Will Caleb Williams be able to, get the ball out quick and stop taking sacks with his new and improved O-line? How are they going to use those those weapons, Colston Loveland at tight end and Luther Burden at receiver. They have about 3 other receivers that they probably need to throw to. So it'll be interesting to see what Ben Johnson does. I think this is going to be a time where we're going to see, like with our own eyes. We'll see it week 1, whatever the Bears do, but we're going to see with our own eyes kind of how that familiarity translates. Like, does Ben Johnson know the secrets about the Detroit Lions? How much is he going to take with him? How much are we going to do that he knows already? Obviously, he knows the staff, he knows the players, he knows the identity of the Lions, and I think that's probably scarier than anything, knowing that he's got to come in and take on a team that he is completely familiar with as far as mentality, heart, grit, all those things that have nothing to do with X's and O's. It's like going up against the in a fight against the school bully, right? It's like, man, this dude, you've never fought him, but you know that and you're next in the ring. I think that's what they're having to expect, and it's going to be exciting to see how we match up against that new and improved squad. I'm excited to see it for sure. I thought they were going to put it week 1, to be honest. I thought that was going to be our week.
I didn't mean to cut him out there. My apologies. Your video was kind of fading there for a minute. I think you're good now. And who knows, it could be my end. But let's get into week 3. So week 3, I don't think that this could have lined up any better. Heading out east, going to the Baltimore Ravens, a team that absolutely wiped the floor with us just a couple of seasons ago. The Lions are finally going to get their shot at revenge, but this is an absolute perfect matchup for the Lions in week 3. They're going to have to test their mettle against, one of the best in the NFL, one of the best running back, quarterback tandems in the NFL, Lamar Jackson and Henry. And the fact that the Lions get to go out east and it's not going to be cold, it's going to be an early September game. Like I was saying earlier, you remember when the leaves are falling and, it's a bright, crisp fall day and you're watching your kids play football. That's what this is going to be like in Baltimore on 9/22, September 22nd for the Detroit Lions heading out east to take on the Ravens. So, Corey, I would love to get now your reaction. Ravens, week 3, this schedule is starting to line up perfect for how much travel the Lions have and how many away games they have that are going to be against extremely good opponents. Bad weather and an extremely good opponent don't mix. Better weather and an extremely good opponent, that's a much better recipe for the Lions. What do you think?
Yep. Yeah, as a football player, Lamar scares me. And so like what you're saying to I hope my mic is good. A couple people were saying that it was a little low, so let me know if it's better. But I think you want to even the playing field as much as possible. And when you're playing a guy like Lamar, when you're playing Derrick Henry, I think some nice weather, a beautiful fall afternoon, sounds better to me than ice or snow or rain. I mean, rain would be another, as like most football players like to say, it's the same conditions for both sides of the team, but not all skills translate in weather the same. And from experience, I know that trying to tackle a slippery quarterback or running back or scat back or whatever can be an extreme challenge. And so, yeah, let's play in good weather. Let's see, put our best against their best and see how we match up. And like I said, I think this is a great measuring stick for our team. I think we all want to say that we are going to be them this year and we are going to be a Super Bowl contender. Well, we're going to find out really early in the season if that's who we are and the identity of the team. Now, I'm not saying we have to win that game, and if we don't win that game, oh no, our season is over. But it's more like, how do we match up against them, and then maybe like when we come back at the end of the season and we match up against those, the Rams, or we'll talk more about some of those other teams, the Eagles after the bye week, we'll have a better idea of how we might scheme up against teams like that. So Lamar and the Ravens are going to be a great measuring stick for us.
Last time these two teams paired up, like I said, they wiped the floor with us 38-6, and that was a late October game. So it was an extra month into the season, and it was cold and nasty out in Baltimore. It was a terrible game for us out there. So Jared Goff did not have a good day at all. Probably one of the worst games he's ever had. Matter of fact, it was probably one of the worst games for the entire offense and the offensive line and the defense. So we're going to have to resurrect ourselves in this game. We're going to have to pick ourselves up and dust ourselves off and get it done. Week 4, and then once we get through week 4, I'd like to get a little bit of a breakdown here on our first quarter win-loss record. So week 4, it looks like we are back at home against the Cleveland Browns. Now, this is going to be an extremely good game going up against Myles Garrett. You're going to see Aiden Hutchinson, Myles Garrett, two of the best right now in the NFL, going head-to-head, world. You know what I mean, on the defense. It's going to be a great show, a lot of electricity. I think that this is going to be a game that Aiden's finally going to see what it's like to be a Myles Garrett, what it's like to be the most elite defensive end in the league. This is going to be a game about defense. I have no confidence for the Cleveland Browns at all on the offensive side of the football at this moment. Is Shedeur Sanders going to be throwing the rock around? Is it Dylan Gabriel? We don't know yet, but I'm sure there's going to be some fireworks in this game, and it's going to be all on the Lions side for this one in week 4 against the Cleveland Browns. Corey, your thoughts? You know, the Browns have brought in a couple of quarterbacks. Where do you think that they're going to be going here? Or how do you think the Lions are going to pair up against the Browns here in week 4?
I think it's a great matchup for us. I think I like the alternating road, home schedule. I think it'll be great to play them at our place. No matter who they have at quarterback, I don't think we have a lot of intimidation, in that regard, whether it's Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders. I think they have Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco. Like, man, that's not a quarterback room that really scares me. And especially with Aiden Hutchinson, healthy and getting after the quarterback. I think, yeah, it's going to be a fun one to watch, Myles Garrett on one side. Not fun if he's successful, but fun to watch, two of the elite pass rushers in the NFL matching up early in the season. The highest paid defensive end in Myles Garrett, making $40 million a year. It'll be fun to compare kind of his production and Aiden, who is on his rookie contract, but going to be coming up on a new one here soon. And it's going to kind of give us another measuring stick of his value and his future with us and how much he might cost us coming up when we see the real deal, the Bentley that is Myles Garrett playing against us. So it'll be fun to see that young offensive line. Maybe we see Tate Ratledge, Miles Frazier in the lineup at all. Will they be playing early in the season? And if they are, how do they match up against a guy like, obviously not going to be playing tackle, but no matter where you're at on the line, Myles Garrett can get after you. So yeah, it'll be a fun one. I'm excited. I think we're going to break down our little win-loss here, but I think after that first quarter of the season, I like the way it's lining up.
I like the way it's lining up too. And as I mentioned the other morning, the Lions have a gauntlet of wide receivers. So my biggest test now through the first 4 weeks of the season, and a lot of the fans understand this too, like the first quarter is generally when most teams figure themselves out. If you haven't figured it out by week 4, it's probably not going to get figured out. Aiden's going to have to really show us through week 4 that he's back. He's going to have some good games and some good production to prove that when week 5 happens against Cincinnati, going up against which should be at this point Trey Hendrickson, another really good defensive end, that Aiden is fully back. I'm not worried about the offensive line. We've handled every defensive end we've gone up against thus far, and the offensive line is only better now because of it and with the players that we brought in, this season and last season. So the gauntlet of receivers, we have now gone through Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, Christian Watson, Matthew Golden, Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, Deebo Samuel will be up next.
We haven't faced Justin Jefferson
No, I'm
yet,
sorry. We haven't
goodness.
faced Jefferson yet. I'm looking at the wrong purple team. So we've gone up against Hopkins, Flowers, Bateman, Walker. And then week 4 going up against the Browns. Like you said, there's not a whole lot there that gets you excited. I mean, they do have Jerry Jeudy, Deontay Johnson, Cedric Tillman. I'm not as worried. Like I started out to say, the biggest test for me is Aiden and seeing where he's at. My second test is the DB room. Where is Terry and Arnold through 4 weeks? Is it 4 PIs through 4 weeks? or is he on his P's and Q's and he's taking care of business? I have us no less than 3-1 through four games.
I agree. I 100% agree. And like you were talking about, we talked about the DB room. Um, this is not the strength of the receiving core, right? We are going to face a receiver gauntlet, and that's not in those first 4 games. Thank goodness, right? Like I know Chicago has 5 dudes, but I don't think any one of them, right, is a world beater. There's no Jamar Chase, there's no Justin Jefferson in that group. Green Bay has a lot of questions. They have a lot of dudes, but a lot of questions. Chicago, a lot of dudes, a lot of questions. Ravens, their strength is the run. Zay Flowers is great. Rashad Bateman's great, but they're not elite number ones. Their production has never been that. You get to Jerry Jeudy, had a great season last year, but Jameis Winston's not going to be in the backfield chucking it around and just feeding him, target after target after target. So, yeah, I think it's a great time for that DB room to get meshed, get their, figure out their responsibilities, figure out how they're going to line up so that when that time comes ready, when they do face the Bengals in week 5, that they'll be ready to take on those 2 big receivers that got paid 2 giant contracts this offseason. Or, T. Higgins got his second contract. But yeah, it'll be interesting. And I know we say no less than 3-1. I truly believe that there's a good opportunity to go 4-0. I think that I believe that the Lions are a Super Bowl contender, just like the Ravens are. There's about a handful of teams that are Super Bowl contenders, and I think that the Lions, the Ravens are all in that group. And so you catch them week 3, and the Ravens are prone to letting one slip through their fingers. They are a great team, but they are not elite. And we saw with the Chiefs last year, they were winning a bunch of one possession games. Those can go the other way. And so if we get the Ravens in a tight battle at their home field, I think we could pull one out and go 4-0 to start the year and just be rolling coming into week 5.
I'm thinking the same thing, and that's why I put the poll up the way that I did. How many in the chat, you guys tell me, how many wins do you think the Lions are going to have after 4 weeks? And the answers that you can select from are 4, 4, 4, or 1. And I can't believe somebody selected 1. Like, you must not be a Lions fan if you're in here thinking that we're only going to have 1 win through 4 weeks. Without a doubt, I would say, again, looking at the first 4 weeks here, Green Bay is going to be a tough game. It's away. They're a good team, but we're a better team. We win that game. Chicago Bears, it's going to be a tough game, but they're coming to our place, a place that Ben Johnson knows well, and he is going to get booed out of that stadium worse than Matthew Stafford did. That's a win. Week 3, Baltimore is the only game that I think that we're right on the fence with another elite team. This game is going to come down to the ground and pound. Whoever wins the ground wins the game. That's my call right now. Many months away from the start of this game. All right, let's get into week 5. Cincinnati Bengals. Let's roll it. Cincinnati Bengals or Detroit Lions are on the road in week 5. This will be October 5th. It's going to be an afternoon game at 4:25 p.m. Eastern at Paycor Stadium on Fox. I'm not so jazzed up about the Fox broadcasting crew some days, but hey, it's on Fox and it's the Bengals. Good team. We got Joe Burrow. And, of course, you've got Trey Hendrickson right now. For me, this is another statement win for the Lions in week 5. I think that they're going to be able to pull this one out. I do feel like this is going to be a big challenge for the Lions. This defense is good. It's not great, right? Trey Hendrickson is about the best that they have on this defense. There's some pieces that are going to give the Lions a little bit of trouble. And Joe Burrow had a hell of a season last year, throwing that ball everywhere. That offense got a little bit better this year. So it's going to be a tough game. This could be a game that I know I didn't see the Lions losing early. If the Lions drop in a second game, let's say to start the season, it could be week 5 away at the Bengals. Corey, what are your thoughts, man? What do the Bengals have in the tank here that can contest the Lions from pulling out a win away?
Yeah, I think the Bengals are a dangerous team. I think we saw them get hot at the end of last season. They almost snuck in, and they were playing like with their hair on fire. So I think they have a revenge tour narrative for this season. I think they want to prove that they're a better team than they were last year. If they can handle the Trey Hendrickson situation, if they can get him back in the building, they just drafted Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M. So they got another edge there that is a first round prospect. They're going to look to get him started early. And if both of those guys are clicking in week 5 and they can set up some resemblance of a defense that will, keep us from scoring 45, then it might be a shootout because I think their offense is powerful. They did not draft a running back till super late, and so they've got a running back that is a check down monster, and Joe Burrow just likes to throw it around. And like I said before, if our DBs haven't got their reps in those first 4 games and shutting down those receiving cores, then they're going to have their hands full with Jamar Chase and T Higgins. And those Bengals did not pay those guys to not use them. So it'll be interesting. Another great matchup, and it's funny, it comes from the same division as the Ravens. And so it seems like the AFC North, the NFC North, those are 2 of maybe the toughest divisions in football, and we got them early in back-to-back games. And so yeah, I think it's going to be a fun matchup. I think it's going to be high scoring. Bet the over on that one, ladies and gentlemen.
Bet the over already. I can't wait to see where that game lines up. Good statement in here by James. He says, we're a crazy, well put together team. We're a very deep team, very, very deep team. We have superstars on offense and defense. We have all-stars on both sides and some extremely young players that are shining. Great statement, James. I think that you just summed up what this Detroit Lions team is all about. And all that credit goes to Brad Holmes for bringing these guys in and Dan Campbell and crew for training and developing these guys to who they are today. This team is well on its way. All right, who's up next here in week 6? Oh, it's going to be the Kansas City Chiefs, Arrowhead, on the road in week 6. Again, for me, this is another great opportunity for the Lions. They're traveling early in the season, week 6 here on October 12th. This is going to be a Sunday night football game. It's going to be one of many primetime games that the Lions are going to be in this season. The Lions under this regime are 1-0 in Arrowhead. We won 20-21 the last time we were there. It propelled us to have a pretty darn good season in 2023. This is time for us to go back and get back what we weren't able to finish and prove to the Chiefs they can't beat Detroit. So, Corey, I'm all in on this one. I don't think that there's a prayer's chance for Kansas City to win this football game.
Wow. Not a prayer's chance. You're talking about Andy Reid and the one of the best quarterbacks we've seen in this generation, and not a prayer's chance. I love that confidence, Will. I love it. But I think it's going to be a little tougher than that. I think we've seen that, dude. The Chiefs just somehow make something out of nothing every year. Kareem Hunt, DeAndre Hopkins, they got guys coming out of retirement, it feels like, to come play for them, and then they contribute and they make it to the Super Bowl every year. So I'm looking forward to seeing how they use some of those newer weapons. I know that Xavier Worthy, a speedster, they found ways to scheme him in. He's in year 2. We see if we can stop him down. They got Jalen Royals, a good receiver from the Mountain West. I got to see him in action, and I think he's the real deal. So Andy Reid will scheme up a couple of those guys and a couple trick plays. He's, in my regard, one of the best coaches ever, to be honest. I think he's right up there with Bill Belichick and some of those greats. He is so creative with what he does, and the way he leads his team might not be in the Dan Campbell-esque, way, but man, he has that locker room, and those dudes will play for him. And so I think it's gonna be a tough matchup. I'm also excited to see my brother there and one of his best buddies from training during the offseason, Ashton Gelati, the edge player from Louisville who got drafted by the Chiefs. It'll be fun to see them, meet on the field and connect and reunite after going through pre-draft season together, and get to say hello to one of your buddies and then hopefully beat them. So I love your confidence. I would love to see us go to Arrowhead and take on the Chiefs. Again, great thing that it's early in the season. I mean, October could still get a little dicey with weather in Kansas City, but I think it's better than November or December.
So Arrowhead, I mean, it can get a little nippy out there. Now, I didn't make the first game to Arrowhead, and I think that this one is on my list this year. I have to be in Arrowhead. There's no other game that I would want to be at than to see Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, and Kelsey's probably his last year going up against the team that is going to be the new team in the NFL for many years to come, representing what the Chiefs have done so far. That I believe is going to be the Lions. I think the Lions are America's new team, and we're going to be around for a long time. And so I want to watch the Chiefs kind of just wither away. They're slowly going to just wither away, and it's now the Lions' time to shine. So I can't miss this game. Let's get into Week 7. Now, Week 7 is against an opponent that man, we have gone up against. This I think is going to be our 4th time in what is now 3 seasons. Last year we opened up against Tampa Bay at home. It was our only loss at home last year early in the season. The season before that, we went up against Tampa Bay in the second game of the divisional round of the playoffs, and they're a tough team. They're a very tough team. For me, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are one of the better teams in the league. Baker Mayfield, look, similar situation to Jared Goff, like we were talking about with Javi Baez this morning for the Detroit Tigers. I mean, Jared Goff and Baez just kind of thrown to the wolves, forgotten about, written off, and so was Baker Mayfield. He's a guy that I always revered as a really good quarterback, but similar to Jared Goff's story, the guy nobody had confidence in. And then he finds Tampa Bay, and Tampa Bay builds around him. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have had one of the best offenses in the league. Obviously, having Mike Evans as your number one wide receiver helps. In that defense, man, Vita Vea and the others on that defense are just incredibly difficult to match up against. This is going to be a really good game. This would be the second game of the year that I think, or third game of the year that I think the Lions could have a potential to lose here. It's at home. That is the benefit to us. It is October 20 game. It is going to be a 7 p.m. game, which is going to be Monday night. So it's going to be loud. Yeah, I'm going to walk that back. We're not losing this game at home. Corey, what are your thoughts on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Yeah, I mean, you said that you didn't think Kansas City had a chance, and then you thought we might lose to the Bucs. I think you might have got those games mixed up, because to me, I think we handle the Bucs at home. To be honest, I think Baker, he was amazing last year, and don't get me wrong, Mike Evans, the Mr. 1,000 yards receiving every single year. I mean, first ballot Hall of Famer probably at this point with the production that he's had. But at some point, dudes get old, right? And at some point, that ability to get separation, it leaves you. And we think we're getting there for Mike Evans. And Chris Godwin coming off a really bad injury. We'll see if he gets back in. They drafted a receiver. They drafted a edge rusher from Central Arkansas, I believe is David Walker. I liked his film, man. Having my brother be an edge rusher, I knew a lot about a lot of the edge rushers in the draft. David Walker was one of those dudes right on his tier on the big board, and Tampa Bay took him earlier than some of these other guys from bigger schools. So he's undersized, but he can get after the passer. We'll see if he's playing at that time. Todd Bowles always has a competitive defense. So yeah, I think it's going to be a great game, but I truly believe that Baker can't sustain, however many touchdowns he's throwing. I love his gunslinger mentality. I love his resurrection of his career. I'm always rooting for guys, especially good dudes, to have success, right? Baker seems like a great dude. Watched him with his little, I think there was something on one of the maybe Prime or one of the streaming where he dressed up undercover and went with the fans through the Buccaneers facility and stuff. Man, that's always fun to see. Jared Goff did something like that in the past. I love seeing guys' personality. So I'd like to see Baker play. I'd like to see him lose, and I'd like to see us get another W under our belt and move on. But I think that would be a great game. Home game, Monday Night Football. Yeah, we're not losing that one. Sorry.
Yeah, no, like I said, I walked that one back. I was just trying to set it up I was trying to set it up and see what people were going to say in the comments, but we're on a little bit of a delay here. So we're going to round out the second quarter of the NFL season after a bye week of week 8, and we head off to week 9 back at home. So this is a nice little stand for us to be home on a bye, and then we get out of the bye and we're at home. which is nice for us because typically the NFL after a bye week likes to send people on the road, especially the Lions. But we get to stay home, and it's the Minnesota Vikings that the Lions will be playing, or we will be bringing in to Ford Field. And look, quite simply for me, this is going to be another W. This is J.J. McCarthy's first opportunity to play in Ford Field. I apologize, but I just don't think that J.J. McCarthy has it. I think that this first season is going to be too much. He might win a few games. He might look really good in a few games. I don't think that he's going to have anywhere near the firepower that Sam Darnold did last season with this offense. Now, J.J.'s got a plethora of weapons, and he's got a really good defense, and he's got really good coaches. But this is his rookie season. And I don't believe that J.J. is going to be able to hold a candle to what the Detroit Lions are going to be able to do. This is a 1 p.m. game on the 2nd of November. Corey, what's your thoughts on the Vikings ending the second quarter of the schedule here at home?
I think the same as you do. It's a W. Kevin O'Connell, has a project on his hands with JJ, and he went up and got his guy. He's gonna have to play his guy. He let Sam Bradford go, and we're gonna see what he has. That's right there in the middle of the season, so there's no excuses at that point. We're gonna know exactly what JJ McCarthy is and how he's executing. We're also gonna know a lot about our team coming off a bye. We should be fresh at home. I think that's a game we have to take care of. Obviously, divisional opponent, fresh legs. Rookie quarterback, not a rookie, but second-year quarterback, but his first year playing. Yeah, I think it's going to be something that we need to handle business. We need to handle it pretty not easily, but securely. And then let's keep going. Let's keep that momentum rolling, and hopefully we got a nice deep roster with a lot of fresh and healthy dudes coming out of that bye and out of a win to take on what I think is the gauntlet of the second half of the season.
You're exactly right. So to round out, as far as the gauntlet of the second half, it's going to be tough. Now, the second quarter, let's run through real quick the receivers that we're going to be going up against in the second quarter. So Cincinnati Bengals, the receivers that the Lions are going to have to deal with are Mike Evans, Godwin, and the rookie Egbuka. I mean, this is just a triple threat that nobody wants to go up against. I don't care how old Evans is. That guy has been pulling 1,000 yards down for 10 seasons in a row. And Godwin, I mean, come on. The guy's got lightning fast speed. And Egbuka, and we don't know enough about him just yet, but watching what he did last year with Ohio State, you can't be underestimating this triple threat here for the Buccaneers. Moving on to Kansas City. Now, Kansas City has really never given... They've really never given Patrick Mahomes like just an amazing cache of wide receivers. But this year, looking at what they've assembled, Sky Moore, I mean, the speedy little guy, not to knock on the little guys, my apologies, but the speedy little guy, Rashee Rice, I mean, he's got some speed downfield. Jalen Royals, one of my loves of the draft season. Really loved watching some of his tape. And then Worthy, another speedster. So they've given the Chiefs speed. And I think that Patrick Mahomes is going to have to learn how to hang in that pocket just a little bit more. But what I'm worried about is those off-schedule throws to these speedsters that are going to find a way to break away and get Patrick Mahomes open to throw the football. And then you've got, let's see, Tampa Bay. I already went over Tampa Bay. Vikings. I went over Tampa Bay, but I called them the Bengals for some reason.
Yeah. Just to touch on what you said about Kansas City's receivers, one thing I am a little nervous about, you talk about speed, is we know that Andy Reid knows how to use speed. Do you remember Tyreek Hill?
Mm-hmm.
Like, goodness gracious. And Xavier Worthy, I think he came into the league fastest 40, ever, but everyone's worried. Can he run a route? Can he, have a whole route tree in his arsenal? And then we watched Andy Reid scheme up basically a 40-yard dash on his first touchdown on an end around. And we said, maybe he doesn't need to run routes to score a touchdown. So we'll see what Andy Reid can do with those receivers. But the Bengals, T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, that's a deadly duo. How do you feel about them?
It's a deadly duo, but just like like Addison and Jefferson. I mean, the Lions have done really well against really good receivers. And if they continue to do what they've done in the past, I think it's the right mixture of single high safety and two high safety and making sure that they're in cover two quite a bit. And I like the cover two look. I think that the Lions will probably play a little bit more zone and a little bit of man-to-man depending on who's healthy in the game, as far as the opponent, right? If one of them's down, they can go man up or they could, single high safety over top. They'll be fine. It'd be interesting to see what Kelvin does this year. Is he going to pull the things that the Lions did well on defense and try to focus on that? Or is he going to mix it up a little bit with some zone that last year I felt like we were getting crushed in zone consistently. We were getting crushed in zone. So the last game to round out the second quarter is the Vikings. And, of course, that is Addison and Jefferson. And just like, the last two, with the Bengals there, tough opponents. Lions have done great. So wrap up the last two teams for me there, Bengals and Vikings. What your thoughts are, and then let's get a record here in the second half.
Yeah, like I said
Quarter.
before, I think the Bengals, those two receivers are going to get used like essentially two wide receiver ones. So not going to have an easy day for our DBs. But again, I think we can stop them. What might be the most deadly receiving threat on that team when you're trying to guard all those dudes is their little check down running back. Then he likes to catch a lot of balls at short yardage and then get a first down every now and again. Whatever Joe Burrow is not going to do with his legs, he's going to do with his arm, and those extensions of the run game can set up for issues, especially when you're in man coverage. But I think we handled them. And then, the Vikings receivers, Justin Jefferson he is who he is for a reason. He is an elite talent. But you said last year, a specific strategy shut. I think if Kelvin Shepherd is taking what we learned from last year and with a young quarterback under the center, giving him some things to think about pre-snap and post-snap, maybe rolling some different coverages and giving him some alternative looks. I think we can make that game difficult for him and maybe keep Justin Jefferson at bay and not let him be the weapon that we know he is.
Okay, so I went 3-1 at the worst in the first quarter, and that's beating Green Bay, beating Chicago, tough game against Baltimore that we could drop, and Cleveland Browns. So I'm going to go worst case scenario, we're 3-1 in the first quarter. Second quarter, Cincinnati Bengals, tough game. Kansas City Chiefs, tough game. Tampa Bay Bucks, tough game. Minnesota Vikings, I like you said earlier, Corey, bet the over on this one. I think the Lions are going to totally dominate Week 9. So I at least have us, 4-1 right now. Tampa, okay, we win that game. That's 5-2. Bengals and Chiefs, I think that we could potentially split. And so I'm going to go, I'll go 6-2 at the half. That's where I'm going. I'm going 6-2 at the half. And I'm going to say that we beat Kansas City and we possibly drop one to the Bengals.
Yeah, I like that. I think 3-1 coming out of the first four games. I said 4-0 earlier. I'm gonna stick with my 4-0, and then maybe we lose one of those ones that I thought that were going to be guaranteed wins between the Bengals and the Bucks. I think that stretch of Bengals, Chiefs, Bucks. I want to win two of those games.
Yeah,
I want to win two of those games. I don't know which two. But I want to come out of those three games with 2-1 at least. If we could, win them all, that's great. If we go 1-2, that's not ideal. But if we, for something happens and we lose those three games, I think that's a tough way to get out of that stretch. Because like I said, I think that we come into the second half of the season, I want to be, comfortably above 500. I don't want to be anywhere close because then a couple games and a few little wins from other teams in your division. And now we're talking about, like what I said earlier, you get into week 18 and that game is going to really matter. Right. And so we'll get to that opponent, but I want to be 6-2, right? 5-3 at the least going into week 10 after our, bye week settled. And like I said, I want to be healthy and have a nice, comfortable 6-2, 5-3 record at the worst.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with a 6-2 here. And this is one thing I want to point out that's working in our favor. So even though we start off on the road and then we head home, and then we go on the road, and then we head home, and then we go on the road, and then we go on the road again, and then we come home, and then we got to bye, and then we come home. We are split 4-4 away and home to start the first half of the season. There's 4 home and 4 away, and we wrap up the last 2 games of the first half at home. That is a nice little homestand for the Lions. Yes, it's a tough schedule, but we're a hell of a team, and I think we're going to be all right. This is where it starts to get different. So, Washington Commanders last year, I'm not going to roll to the schedule. We're playing Washington week 10. November 9th. It is scheduled right now to be a 4:25 p.m. game on Sunday. Now, this game could be a flex if I understand the rules correctly. May or may not understand it correctly, but it could be. And here's what I'm thinking. Jaden had a hell of a rookie year. He did a lot more than what anybody else expected other than me. Corey, you don't know this, but last year I said that Jaden Daniels was going to be the number 1 quarterback coming out of the draft, and I also said he was going to have a really good season. Everyone said that Sam Darnold was going to be crap for the Vikings, and I said he was going to have his best season ever, and the Vikings were going to win a lot of football games, and they were going to have one of the best defenses in the league. All of that came true. In Week 18, like you spoke to, that was the Lions and the Vikings last year. Week 18 decided the 1 seed and the North to finish the season against a divisional opponent. So here we are, the Washington Commanders completely wiped the floor with us, and I bet we learned a lot about the RPO, and I bet we learned a lot about what not to do. So the Detroit Lions are going to travel to Northwest Stadium to take on the Washington Commanders on November 9th. It is an afternoon game right now, slated at 4:25 p.m. Eastern Time. This is the revenge tour. This is where it begins for the Detroit Lions. This is where we have to start to clean up whatever we've done wrong in the first half of the season. It has to go right in this game, because the next week, it doesn't get any easier. And for the Detroit Lions to have a chance and not just making the playoffs, but making a deep run and ending up as a 1 or a 2 seed this season, it starts week 10. The Lions must be 6-2 at this point, and this game is going to end up at no less than 7-3. I have a win for the Detroit Lions here against the Commanders in week 10. Corey, this is one of the biggest games of the season, man. What are you thinking?
Your take on Jaden Daniels over Caleb Williams was my take on C.J. Stroud over Bryce Young the year before, and so I'm all about picking my horse and running with it. I think Jaden Daniels is the real deal. I loved hearing about his alternative ways of virtual reality training. I think that's the next wave of getting better, right? And just putting yourself in those situations, even when you can't rep real life situations. And so, it'll be interesting to see if Jaden Daniels can repeat if he does have a CJ Stroud year number 2, which wasn't as good as his rookie year. I think that's something that to say for the testament of NFL DCs. They are pretty good at figuring out what you do well and what you might not do well, and making sure that their defense can capitalize on those second things. So I think it'll be a great game. It'll be interesting being at their place, and it's a little bit of revenge, I think, for the Lions to go in there and take care of business, start the second half of their season on a winning note, and like I said, just keep rolling. Next opponent, they're the real deal.
Yep, they are the real deal. And before we get to that, I just started another poll here. How many wins will the Lions have after 8 games? And like I said, I went with 6-2, and I think we're pretty much in agreement here. We'll see what you guys come up with when we come back to that in a few moments. Now, again, this is where it began in week 10. This is where the Detroit Lions cannot falter at all. Like I said, anything that was going wrong in the first half, it must be corrected by week 10. Washington Commanders, and then the Lions travel for the second week in a row to the Philadelphia Eagles. The good news here is it's only November 16th. Yes, it can be cold in Philly in November, especially in early November. I'm just going to side with, potentially warmer weather this time of year. Not that I'm afraid of cold weather. I'm not at all. I'm not afraid that the Lions can't win. I just want to see the Lions at their best. I want to see them operating like a fine oiled machine against the best football teams in the league, the Super Bowl champions from last year. They lost a little bit on that defensive line. Now they're going up against one of the best defensive lines and one of the best offensive lines in the Detroit Lions. I'm calling a win in Philly. I think the Lions are going to get it done. I do not believe we beat the Philadelphia Eagles last year, even if we get past the Commanders. I think that it was just too much injury. And that team was, the Lions team of last year was just decimated. This year, Lions aren't losing to Philly. This is where that statement win starts to stack, and the schedule starts to ease up just a little bit for a couple weeks. What is your take on the Philadelphia Eagle game here for the Detroit Lions?
Yeah, I think we're gonna see what Philadelphia is. I mean, no one's gonna forget what Saquon did last year, and no one's gonna take away that impact that he has on that team. They have a great offensive line, they have a great running game. Jalen Hurts, is a great game managing athletic quarterback. I think he's not like some of the other guys who rely on their legs. We saw early he wanted to throw the ball a lot last year and use that weapon first and then his legs second. So getting him in the second half of the season, um, it'll be interesting to see what type of style he wants to play with. I just looked up the offensive coordinator for the Eagles, and I don't think I've ever heard the name Kevin Patullo. He was previously their pass game coordinator, so it'll be interesting to see what losing Kellen Moore does to that offense. If Nick Sirianni, just keeps the momentum moving, or if there's any, stylistic or schematic changes to the way that they, put the product out on the field. I think we're going to see a large dose of Saquon. I think they want to run that. That was their methodology last year. But if we can get them to try and have to throw a lot, I think that's going to be in our favor. So I like a win for us against Philadelphia, even though they're the reigning Super Bowl champs. I think I'm not putting in my bets yet, but I like us to win the NFC this year, and we got to go through the Super Bowl chance to do it. So be it.
All right, then we get into week 12. So there's not a lot of people that are really worried about the Giants this year. They're in a rebuilding season, if you will. And yes, they have some good points on either side of the football. When I immediately looked at this game for the Giants and the Lions matchup here on Sunday, November 23rd, week 12, when I immediately looked at this game on the schedule of opponents, I wasn't as worried, and it really depended on what they were going to do in the draft. If they were even going to have a shot this year to try to resurrect, where they've been and where they're going. Is Daboll going to do anything to get this team headed in the right direction? This is a Giants team that is looking to bounce back after what happened in 2024, and it's just not going to happen against the Detroit Lions, and it's definitely not going to happen at Ford Field. I feel sorry that they have to come into Ford Field this late in the season, but the Lions are going to be running hot. They just went on a gauntlet stretch here 2 weeks in a row, away at the Commanders and then away at Philly, and then they come back home. Giants are going to go home with a big L here. I think this is a big statement win at this time of the season, which is going to be needed for the Detroit Lions. So, Corey, we are now getting into, the part of the season where things are going to start to get figured out here. Where do these teams line up? It's going to be the playoff race. It really starts in week 12, and no one's really going to look back because week 12 is about really where it begins, right? You can start to clinch at this point, I believe. So what is your thoughts here on this game here at home, New York Giants on the 23rd of November?
Yeah, coming back from, like you said, two really tough road opponents in the Commanders and the Eagles. I think if something were to go wrong in either of those games, this is where we right the ship. I think it'll be interesting to see what the Giants do at their quarterback position. They got Russell Wilson. They got Jackson Dart. They got Jameis Winston. A lot of quarterbacks who potentially could be there behind under center for them in week 12. We'll see what Daboll does. If Jackson Dart is in there, I'd like it a lot. If Russell Wilson's in there, I like it a lot. As a matter of fact, if Jameis, I like everybody for us on our defense getting after that quarterback. in that game at home, it's probably going to be a sack city. So yeah, let's get that win. Let's move it on, and we don't have to go anywhere. We get to stay home for a nice little stretch of home games, even though one of them is almost immediately after week 12. We're playing again on Thanksgiving. I think it'll be nice to have the Giants leading into that Thanksgiving game, because I don't anticipate the Giants to be one of the tougher opponents that we're going to face next year.
Okay, so now we get into week 13. Now, this is Thanksgiving. We've got some bad memories on Thanksgiving. We finally were able to get a win last year. But the last time that we played the Green Bay Packers on Thanksgiving, just 2 seasons ago, the Green Bay Packers defeated us, I believe it was 29-22 in that game. And it's something because of this stupid waxing or waning gibbous moon or something. Whenever it happens, the Lions lose on Thanksgiving. Well, moons be damned this year, because the Packers are just not going to find a win against the Detroit Lions. It's not going to happen in week 1. It's not going to happen in week 13 at Ford Field. This is going to be a 1 p.m. game on Thanksgiving. Now, the only issue that I have here on the schedule is this is a tough run for the Lions, right? The Detroit Lions are coming off of an extremely tough road matchup here, starting week 10 against the Commanders, and then heading into Philly to take on the Eagles. And then it's back home for the Giants. And then with just 4 days rest, it's playing on Thanksgiving against the Green Bay Packers. Again, this is playoff scenario, right? This is when you can start to separate what teams are going to end up where, who's hot, who's not, who's injured, right? Hopefully not the Detroit Lions. This is the end of the third quarter for the schedule for the Detroit Lions. And I'm just not finding another loss for the Lions here. I think the Lions are going to take care of business, and they're going to have 2 Thanksgiving meals at home back to back. Corey, I'd love your thoughts here on the Packers at home for Thanksgiving. The last time it was an L. The Green Bay Packers shut us down 29-22. Just was not a good game for the Lions. We got manhandled in many different areas, especially up front on the defensive line by the Green Bay Packers. This is a different story. This is a different team here in 2025. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I just don't. My gut says we handle the Packers, whether that's home or away, whether that's early or late. I have to be careful because like I said, maybe in a previous show, I have a close relationship with the quarterback coach who trains Jordan Love. And so I've got to see Jordan Love in person. He's a great dude. He's a good quarterback, but I don't know if he's elite. And I think when you face the Lions this year, you're going to need elite under center. I just think that that the way our team is rostered, and the depth we have on defense, and just the cohesion and chemistry, man, I just think that when you're going to beat a team of our caliber, you better have some real weapons. And I don't see it with Green Bay. I don't see it in their run game. I don't see it with an elite passing attack. I don't see it with an elite defense. And 2 years ago, I wasn't a Detroit Lions super fan, so I can't even bring into that pain and suffering you felt 2 years ago on Thanksgiving. I'm going to go to most recent, which is a win. Maybe not against the Packers, but a win on Thanksgiving. We keep that rolling. We're eating turkey on Thanksgiving. We're all happy and full with a good night's sleep and another W under our belt. That's how I feel about that matchup.
I'm seeing it, man. I'm seeing the same thing that you are. There's not a doubt in my eyes. And, to give you a few thoughts here on Jordan Love, I've kind of had the same feeling that you do. I don't think that he's elite. It doesn't mean that he can't get there at some point, but Jordan makes a lot of mistakes. And when you put a rush on him and he gets razzled at all, he gets flustered and he starts to make really bad decisions. I mean, really bad decisions with the football. So that's the separator, right, between an elite quarterback and just an okay quarterback in the NFL. He got a bag. He got a bunch of money that he probably didn't deserve. He didn't prove it yet, but he kind of pigeonholed the Green Bay Packers. They didn't really have a choice, and I don't think he's ever going to deserve that money. Matter of fact, I would say that if Jordan Love doesn't produce this year, he's probably going to be shipped out next year, and the Packers are probably going to be going in a different direction. So this should be the end of the third quarter of the schedule, right? So week 1, that was the Packers, the Bears, the Ravens in week 3, the Browns in 4, the Bengals in 5, the Kansas City Chiefs in 6, the Bucs in 7, Vikings in week 9, Commanders in week 10, the Philadelphia Eagles in week 11, the Giants in week 12, and the Green Bay Packers. That's 12 games. 3/4 of the season are now done. So let me get a pull up. Are we going to be 12-0, 11-1, 10-2, or less than 9 wins? Oh boy.
What did we? I think the poll came back 6-2. So if we're pushing 6-2 into these next games,
6-2 is what a lot of people thought from the
yeah,
previous. Yeah. So
interesting.
yeah, but I'm just going to keep rolling with different numbers here to kind of see
Yeah, I like
where
it.
people
I
think
like
we
it.
are. Man, I'm loving this home stretch, right? We're home against the Giants. We're home against the Packers. We just got off this crazy, road gauntlet, if you will, with the Eagles and the Commanders. And we're back home against the Dallas Cowboys. Now, this has been an extremely contentious rivalry here between the Cowboys and the Lions. If you remember a couple of seasons ago, Corey, the Lions won that football game with that 2-point conversion that apparently got called back, and the Lions didn't win the game. It clearly was the right call that the Detroit Lions won the game. It was the wrong call that Brad Allen decided to say, nope, that wasn't allowed to happen, right? Illegal contact or whatever downfield. Whatever the call was. I don't even remember now, but it was the Lions didn't the Lions didn't report accurately on the field, and therefore the 2-point conversion got called back that was thrown to Taylor Decker in the corner of the end zone.
I remember that. Yeah.
Come on, man. I mean, it was such a terrible call, and I hate to open up the scabs. I thought that it'd be healed by many of us right now, but my heart's just hurting. So Dallas Cowboys come to Ford Field. Look, they are not walking out without a 50 burger. I'm sorry. It's going to be just like we did to them last year. The Detroit Lions, Week 14. This is the first December game. This is going to be a Thursday night game. So at least after, the Lions are done with their Thanksgiving Day game, they get a week off. So here we go. The Detroit Lions take on the Dallas Cowboys Week 14. This is going to be a Thursday night game right after Thanksgiving. The Lions are actually going to get a little bit of rest. Going on 4 days into the Green Bay game. They get a week off before they go up against the Cowboys at home. Look, we know the rivalry here between the Cowboys and the Lions. We know what happened just a couple of seasons ago with Brad Allen and Taylor Decker. Last season, the Lions showed up in a big way down in Arlington when we put it to the Cowboys. This year, we're going to put it on them a little bit more. Lions walking out of this one with a 50 burger and another win to start the final quarter of the NFL season. Corey, Dallas Cowboys, man, used to be America's team. It's now the Detroit Lions are America's team, but I love your take here on this game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fun one. I think it's going to be something that Ahmed has circled because I had a gut feeling back in the day that he was going to get drafted by the Cowboys. That Boise has that famous Cowboy connection in Dallas, and I always said, if I get in a room with Jerry Jones, there's no way he's not drafting my brother with me talking to him. But I didn't get a chance to speak to Jerry, and therefore they didn't draft him. Thank goodness, because I did not want to root for that team. They were the wrong color, blue and silver, and I just didn't know it was called Honolulu blue before this. So I'm much happier that he's a Detroit Lion than a Dallas Cowboy, and I think I'm going to be much happier at the end of December 4th because I see Detroit winning this game. No matter if you get George Pickens or whoever is going to be catching the ball for the Cowboys, Dak feels like a more experienced Jordan Love to me. He has all the talent, but man, like they just can't put things together and sustain success for a long time. The Cowboys leadership reminds me of old Raiders leadership. Just got too many cooks in the kitchen, and that's never a product of never produces success if you got too many dudes trying to do the same job. And so I think until that leadership steps back a little bit and lets the coaches do what they do, I think the Cowboys are still going to struggle, and I think we are not going to struggle with them in Week 14 at home at all. So yeah, I think it's a big dub for us.
Well, obviously, I agree. And then we move on to one of the other more famous rivalries over the last few seasons. The last Los Angeles Rams, Matthew Stafford, the Jared Goff trade. Many would say that the Rams won that trade because Matthew Stafford comes in 2021 and brings home a Lombardi trophy for the Rams. And look, I was happy for him. I thought it was great that he got to go and do what he couldn't do in Detroit. And we're not going to blame Stafford for that because I'm going to blame the coaching. I'm going to blame the ownership. I'm going to blame everything else but Matthew Stafford that they couldn't put a team around him to go win a football game. But then it's like it's playoff season, right? And the Lions are finally winning some football games, and Matthew Stafford comes home, and it was boo, boo, boo city. Boo them kids is what they said. We booed their kids out of the stadium. No, that wasn't true. We booed Matthew Stafford. And look, I'm happy to see his success, but this is where it has to end. Jared Goff went into L.A. in his first year with the Lions and lost. That's not happening again. I'm sorry. Whether you believe in Jared Goff or not, if you think this is Jared versus Stafford, this is the Lions versus the Rams. And for me, I feel like this is a big game and another statement win for the Detroit Lions. I'm just not seeing many losses. I know that we're going to fumble a game somewhere. It tends to happen, right? We have no idea what the injuries are going to be looking like right now. I'm assessing every single game and every matchup that we're at full health as you can be at week 15. So it's the Los Angeles Rams on December 14th. This is it's a 4:25 p.m. game, so it's not flexed yet, but it could be flexed when the Lions take on the Rams in week 15. This is, again, the biggest rivalry for the Lions over the last few seasons, right next to the Dallas Cowboys, who we just stomped the week before in week 14. Jared Goff marching into L.A., and I don't think that we're going to have the same result as we did in 2021. I think that Jared Goff is going to go ahead and take care of business, and he's going to put that rivalry to rest. He's going to have a whole bunch of feelings coming over him walking into that stadium. Are the LA Rams fans going to treat Jared Goff like we did Matthew Stafford when Stafford came home to Detroit? We're going to find out on December 14th when the Lions take down the Rams at SoFi Stadium. Corey?
I'll tell you right now. I know the answer to that question. No, because LA Rams fans aren't fair weather fans and they don't have enough hate in their heart to figure out like that they hate Jared Goff or anything. We are real football fans here, and coming from LA, they are so spoiled with 2 football teams and 2 baseball teams and 2 basketball teams and so much media sports saturation that even the Rams fans and yeah, there are the ones that stuck through their move away and then their move back. But man, like I just know that football is different in Detroit than it is in LA. And I don't think they're going to treat, they don't look at Jared Goff the way Detroit looks at Matthew Stafford. I'll just put it that way. Now, there was a comment in chat from Jay-Z, and he says, I'm still not sold on McVay being a great coach. He said they bought their Super Bowl in 2021, but hey, they got it done. I am not in that camp. I think McVay is one of the great offensive minds. They may have bought in their Super Bowl, and having guys like Aaron Donald doesn't hurt, but man, like you still got to go out there and do it. And I think he's proven, with Matthew Stafford and the way he's been able to, bring out Puka Nacua. They just got rid of Cooper Kupp, but Puka Nacua, man, like he's the real deal as well. And now they have, Devontae Adams, who they got. I think that's going to be a game where we got to be on our A game. Obviously, Jared Goff is going to have a lot of feelings going back to LA and going to want to win bad. And I know the team is going to want to win for him. But it's going to be a chore. I think McVay's a great coach. I think they'll have a good offense. I think their defense is young. They got, Jared Verse and guys like that have, jumped onto the scene and become great players in a short amount of time. And so I think it's going to be a tough matchup, but I do think we sneak out a W there, but I think it's going to be a battle, man. I truly do. And especially anytime you got to travel across the country. I think it's always weird, right? Playing at a different time in a different time zone, that can have some effect. And it's something that we don't always think about. And that might be the thing that evens the playing field and makes it a little tighter than we're expecting right now. But I do think we come out with a W.
So far, Lions fans in this chat feel like after 3 quarters of football that the Detroit Lions are going to be 10-2. And I have to tell you, I'm good with that. Like I would be elated if we were 10-2 after 12 football games of the season. Remember, the over-under right now for the Lions is, I believe, 10.5. So, anything over 10 wins for us is going to be a big plus. And I think that it is going to take 11 wins to inch into the playoffs. This is going to be the hardest division in football, the NFC North. It's going to be a tough division for a long time, I feel. Even though we may not have the best quarterback play out of Caleb Williams yet, or the best quarterback play out of Jordan Love yet, and we don't know what JJ is, these teams have just found ways to win football games, and they've built upon the roots of football, which is the trenches, and they're sticking to that. So it's almost like it is a chess match, right? You're watching, okay, Brad is going to move his piece here, and then the Vikings are going to move their piece here, and it's just fun to watch from afar how each team is assembling their team, if you will. Week 16, Pittsburgh Steelers. This is an afternoon game, and it will be at Ford Field. So the Lions get to come back home. This is going to be a game that I'm a little bit worried about here in Week 16 as the Lions do take on the Pittsburgh Steelers at home in Ford Field in an afternoon showdown at 4:25. This is a game that could be flexed, and I do believe that that's why the game is at 4:25 right now. So it gives the Lions an option here in Week 16 to play into the evening. This is a must-win game if the Lions only have 9 wins. It's not a must-win game if the Lions have, 12 wins or more. The Pittsburgh Steelers, we don't know what they are, but we do know is that Mike Tomlin always has his teams ready to win. He always has his teams ready to play. And no matter who's on the field, they typically find a way to get into the playoffs. Justin Fields might be leading the charge here for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm just not sold that the Steelers are going to be able to win in Ford Field. I think that Mike Tomlin is up against his match here with Dan Campbell. And again, I feel like this is just another win for the Lions. But to me, this is a game that the Lions could drop. If they were to lose a game at home, I think that this could be the one. Corey?
Well, I hate to correct you, but Justin Fields will not be leading that team because Justin Fields is now on the New York Jets.
Yeah.
So
sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know why I said that.
You're good. That I think that makes a big difference though, right? Like Justin Fields is a X factor that can win a game with his legs. Right now, at quarterback, they have Mason Randolph, potentially Aaron Rudolph, excuse me. Randolph is the center for Boise State. Mason Rudolph, the guy they just drafted from Ohio State,
Will Howard,
or potentially the aging Aaron Rodgers stepping in. And so I think this is a win. This is my best friend's favorite team, and I just texted him. I said, "Are we going to the game in Detroit on Week 16 to watch my Lions whoop up on your Steelers?" Because I personally think this is a dub for us. I think it's a get right game. If something were to happen in LA and it doesn't go our way, I think we come back home and we handle business. I don't see Pittsburgh. This might be the one. It's there's two things you can trust. You get Mike Evans 1,000 yards and Mike Tomlin going just above 500 and making the playoffs. I think one of those two things probably doesn't happen this year. And I want to say it's Mike Tomlin not making the playoffs. I don't think the Pittsburgh Steelers are good. I think that they are in a rebuild. I think that they've got a young running back and they're going to try and run the ball. They just got rid of Najee Harris. They just got rid of George Pickens. I think it's a win for us. I think it's a get right game, like I said, and just another statement victory for us, kind of setting ourselves up for a long playoff run and hopefully a Super Bowl at the end. But yeah, I think it's a win.
So when I say leading the charge, I was trying to get Aaron Rodgers' name out of my mouth, as we were talking about him the other day and how he's got a decision to make according to sources, out in the interwebs saying that Aaron Rodgers is kind of under the gun, that he's got to make a decision here by like the end of May on whether he's going to play or not. You would have thought that bringing in DK Metcalf here and the fact that he was throwing with DK Metcalf, that there might have been something happening. Nothing's happened. I don't see how the Pittsburgh Steelers enter the season with the quarterbacks that they have. And that's it. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
No.
So we'll see what happens. But
And I'm personally, my take on DK is I'm not a believer in. He's a good athlete, he's a good receiver, but he's not. I don't think he's the savior of the franchise. I don't think he's an elite number one. I just don't think, and he's definitely not enough to carry the Steelers for an entire season to a winning record, so they're going to have to do more with whatever they have or pull out a miracle, but I just don't see it happening this year.
Hey, big shout out to Dan Campbell in the chat. I see that he's blessed us tonight with his presence, and he also said that he texted one of his friends to see if he's going to be with him on the sidelines to be whooping on the Steelers. So big shout out to you, Dan. All right, so we got 2 games left. And guess what? They're divisional opponents. The Lions start off with the Packers and the Bears, and the Lions end with the Vikings and the Bears. It is week 17, and it's Christmas. It's Christmas. I can't believe it. At US Bank Stadium, and the Lions get to travel up to take on the Vikings on Christmas Day. I think that we have a little bit of mixed emotions here as Lions fans having to attend a Thanksgiving Day game. And if I remember correctly, Rod Wood said it last year. He didn't know how comfortable the Lions fans would be had they had to attend 2 games on holidays. Well, he's going to find out this year, and I think that this could be a game that we don't travel well. I hope not. I hope that we show up because we have to beat Minnesota Vikings on week 17. Of course, it's dependent upon where the Lions are, what the schedule has given us for wins and losses, and how injured we are at this point, or uninjured, hopefully. And are the Lions ready to capitalize on a good season and march into the playoffs? Week 17 is going to be that game that could be a deciding factor for the Lions. Is it going to be much like week 18 last year, where everything was decided on the last game against the last opponent? Are you going to be the 1 seed? Are you going to be the 5th seed? Are you going to win the North, or are you not going to win the North? This could be one of those games. But I do believe the Lions are going to rise above again like they did last year at US Bank Stadium. And this is Christmas and all the presents coming back to Detroit. Another W. Corey?
Sounds great to me, man. Sounds great to me. I want to unwrap a W from under the tree. I do agree that this could be a tough game. If we lose on Christmas Day, I'm blaming Netflix. I'm just blaming Netflix. I don't know what else to blame. So I would just blame Netflix because, everything's going streaming. It had to be them. There's no way we lose this game. Destiny sets up really well for us this year. And I just think, maybe they gave us 2 holiday games because they were saving us from the cold outdoor games in the second half of the season. I think I would take the holiday games over playing in the weather. If we flip the games, right, from our home game and their away game, I mean, they're both domes, don't get me wrong, but like there are some games early in the season that I'm glad we don't have late. So if we got to play in these holiday games, yeah, it sucks for travel. It sucks for ticket holders. It sucks to not be home on Christmas. But man, like if we can get a dub and we can set ourselves up for a great playoff run, I think we'll trade that. If we could have a Super Bowl at the end, no one's going to be mad that they spent, their Christmas at Ford Field. I promise.
Yeah, except this one's at US Bank.
And, yeah, this is the away.
Yeah, this is away. So here's what I want to throw out there to everyone, because you just mentioned something that's super important, right? We're talking about weather, and again, it's not to say that Jared Goff and the Lions can't win in the weather. We've watched them do it. Week 18 in 2023, they took down the Packers in the frozen tundra, and they sent Aaron Rodgers packing, and Kirby Joseph picked him off twice. Could have been 3 times in that game. Here's what I'm looking at. This is where I love this schedule right now. Yep, we're outdoors on week 11 at Philly, and then we're inside. Exactly. The last game is outside. But we literally have 6 games in a row that are outside. And matter of fact, SoFi, I believe, has a retractable dome. Go ahead. Open it up in the middle of winter in LA. What is it? 65 degrees? We'll take it.
It's actually it's got a hard dome, but it's got open air, like ventilate. It's a weird stadium, but yeah, it's gonna be a beautiful, beautiful game and beautiful setting. But yeah, 6 games inside in the second half of the season. Like you said, not worried about what Jared Goff can do. I'm more worried about like the trenches. When it's cold, those hits hurt, man. Like tackling people hurts. And I don't want to play Derrick Henry in the cold, right? Like
Oh,
we get in
exactly.
week 3, thank goodness, right? I
Right.
don't want to be tackling Saquon Barkley. Now week 11 is obviously it could be a little cold, but man, if we had Saquon Barkley in week 16, he's a much harder guy to tackle in Philadelphia. So yeah, I'm happy that we get these 6 dome games. And again, man, have you seen Jahmyr Gibbs run? He's
Oh,
pretty
a
fast.
few
He's even
times.
faster on turf, brother.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
goodness gracious.
I've watched him a few times. Matter of fact, I have one of his gloves back here. He threw to me at the Packers game.
Hey,
Yeah.
let's go.
So, here's the cool thing about, ending the season this way and going to I can't say it, Soldier Field. I've talked way too much today. Soldier Field in week 18 against the Chicago Bears. Now, this game is TBD. This means they're expecting something. The NFL is expecting a showdown in week 18 again. They believe that this NFC North division is as tight of a race as it's ever going to be. And I would agree. And I would say that the week 18 matchup with Ben Johnson and Dan Campbell is going to be one that history is going to be made. But unfortunately, it's not going to be for the grasshopper in this situation. Dan Campbell, the master, going up against his good friend Ben Johnson in week 18 to wrap up the season, to send them packing, probably not in the playoffs, and the Lions off to the 1 seed into the playoffs with a first week bye. That's what's going to happen in Soldier Field. And I can see Ben's face now. He's just grimaced and upset and wondering what he just did, having to deal with Caleb Williams all year and the circus that probably is going to surround him. Not that I'm wishing the Bears any bad luck, but you all know in the chat, it's FTB all day and twice on Sunday. Lions win in week 18. Corey.
Yeah, the narrative of, the week 2 Chicago Bears that being different than the week 18 Chicago Bears, it just doesn't fly with me, man. I think it takes way longer than 1 season to get your wits about you as a head coach, especially first-time head coach with all new players, piecing together, free agents and rookies and a quarterback who has yet to prove it. I think that I'm hoping this game is one of those games that is TBD because it probably doesn't matter, right? Because we've handled our division early in the season. We've come back around and beat them all again, whether that's Green Bay or the Vikings. And then Chicago's just the extra piece at the end to put the cherry on top and give us that strong, dominant statement win that says, we're the real deal, capping off a season probably, I don't want to do the math, but I'm thinking like we're 13 and something, right? Like maybe 14 and a few, but man, like this is a solid schedule for us. I think it's a solid way to put our stamp on who we are the entire season. And if we need to rest a couple guys because we're looking at a long playoff run and a Super Bowl potentially at the end, I think it would be great to do it to Chicago, and they could be playing for nothing, right? At the end, and we could be playing for everything. So I think it's no matter when we face them, I think it's going to be a W either way. But it'll be interesting to see their development and ours and the trajectory and which way those two teams go throughout the course of the season. I love seeing them early and late. It would be different if we saw them, in the middle, kind of like we see with the Vikings, right? We see them, in the middle and then at the end. I love seeing them very early and then very late. We're going to see 2 different products on the field for the Chicago Bears, but hopefully we see one consistent Lions team and we dominate in both of those matchups. So yeah, I think it's a great way to end the season. Now it might be cold, but man, that's what football's all about is experiencing those types of games.
So you're talking about tackling in the cold, and every Lions fan remembers going down to Carolina a few seasons ago. I mean, it was not supposed to be cold. It was record cold. It was, I think, below zero in Carolina for this game. And was it Chuba Hubbard? I think he ran, I don't know, 200 plus yards on us that game. Like, we showed up to this game like this was a game that we really needed to win. And you could just see the guys did not want to hit. They did not want to tackle. They did not want to get in the way of any running back barreling down on them. And so, you're exactly right when you say that those hits hurt, man. It's like the worst bee sting you've ever had playing in the cold when you've got to take a big hit. It smarts. You know what I mean? It really, really, really hurts. I played in one game like that, back in my younger days in high school, and I'll never forget. My toes are frozen. My hands are frozen. We didn't have the things that they have today. Like I remember my pads were 3 times too big, and that's when I played. It's like I had Chris Spielman pads on, and I'm playing wide out. Like what do I got these things on for? So it's
Yeah.
you don't want to hit in the cold, man.
I had one experience. This it just hurts just talking about it. But my coldest experience was we went up Azusa Pacific University, a bunch of California boys from the Sunshine. We went to Helena, Montana to play Carroll College, the NAIA powerhouse, and we saw these dudes come out with no sleeves on. We are decked out in all the Nike cold gear we could get. They come out no sleeves on. It is 5 degrees with a wind chill of -5. The ground was frozen solid. One of the most unpleasant experiences I've ever had in a sporting event. You could not think about anything other than how bitterly cold it was. I mean, up until the snap, I remember going for a bubble screen, and I'm in the huddles just saying, "This is so cold. This is so cold. It's freezing." Get up on the line of scrimmage. I'm freezing. I'm freezing. The ball is snapped. Give me the ball. Give me the ball. Give me the ball. Get tackled. Get back up. Freezing. It's instantly just couldn't think about anything else other than how cold it was and how bad my body hurt. We ended up losing that game. They ended up going on to win the national championship. So it was a tough go of it. But yeah, man, playing football in the cold it makes it difficult. And yeah, so sometimes it can be fun. I would rather have snow. I would rather have a bunch of snow and slowing everybody down and adding a little bit of cushion than just bitter cold. But
yeah,
sometimes
I could
you
see
don't get that luxury.
I could see that. All right, you guys, do us a huge favor. Let's get those likes up. I know we've only got about 70 people in. I think we got some people watching ads right now. We got 62 likes. Would love to get a few more. And then, of course, let me give you guys a little public service announcement real quick. Jeff Iafrady over at Crunch Time, his girlfriend's mother is facing MS. If you guys could do us a huge, huge, huge favor, this One Pride family is big. And I offered to donate $100 to match the first $100 that came in between, it was right around 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. If $100 came in, I'll match it. But Jeff knows how I operate. You guys know how I operate. I'm going to donate the $100 no matter what. But I would love for you guys to get out there and help Jeff. I did pin it here to the pinned comment. There's a link in there. You can also check my Twitter out, or you can check out Crunch Time Sports on Twitter, and let's help this family out. You guys are great. I know the One Pride family always steps up. You've always been there for me and my causes and my foundation. It's your foundation, really. I'm just here running it, right? This is your channel. I'm just here running it, and we're having fun doing it. So let's step up for our One Pride community. And, man, let's get our final takes in here, Corey. So I couldn't actually be more happy with the way that this schedule looks. Again, if I do a quick rundown here, the last half of the season, which starts in week 10. So you got 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. No, let me do that again. Yeah, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Yeah, last half of the season. I don't know why I can't do math right now. My math's not mathing. So it starts in week 10. The Lions are only potentially playing in cold weather in one game, which is the last game against the Chicago Bears. And they could have some chilly weather in one game in week 11, unless somehow Philly gets in early winter. outside of that, the Lions are, inside. Washington Commanders, I believe that's an outdoor stadium. I honestly don't even know. I think it is an outdoor stadium, isn't it?
I believe so.
And you know what? There's so many good stadiums that are, it's an outdoor stadium. There's so many good stadiums on the docket this year to go to. Like Washington Commanders, former Redskins, iconic. It's just as iconic as Arrowhead to me. Philly, worst fans in the world. Most distasteful fans in the world, right? Spitting at you, screaming at you, and I want to go check it out. Like, I want to feel it. You know what I mean? I want to be there. I want to be in it. Not trying to, start any fights or anything, but hey, don't mess with the one pride, man. I'll tell you what, when we come, we roll in many, and we don't take anybody's crap, but we're pretty cool, calm, collected people, man. We're just looking to have a good time and enjoy the game. And that's what it's all about. But there's always stupid stuff that goes on in Philly, and I hope it doesn't happen this year. When the Lions pound them that weekend, Philly fans are going to be stupid. I can see it already. They're going to be stupid. So be smart when you're there. But to roll it all out, man, the last 8 games of the season, one bad game outside, I love it. We're going up against some extremely good football teams. We were talking about receivers earlier. The last 8 games of the year, Washington Commanders, we're going up against Debo Samuel, Terry McLaurin, 2 very good wide receivers. The Philadelphia Eagles, we're going up against Devonta Smith, A.J. Brown. Green Bay Packers again. We know who they have. Christian Watson, Matthew Golden now. Dallas Cowboys. C.D. Lamb, he's great. George Pickens, he can be great. Is he going to fit in with Dak? We'll find out. L.A. Rams, man, come on. Like they're just getting loaded every year. They're finding guys, but Devontae Adams and Matthew Stafford, I have a feeling that is going to be one of the most electric, dynamic duos in the league this year for receiver quarterback. And then you have Pittsburgh Steelers. I'll pass. Minnesota Vikings, Addison and Jefferson. I mean, that's always been a good tandem. And then the Chicago Bears, Rome Odunze and DJ Moore. We just don't know who's the number one anymore, but just a gauntlet of receivers that Terry and Arnold and DJ Reed are going to have to take on. Like, to me, that's the biggest part of the schedule. It's who we're playing and who are the receivers. But I think that Terry and Arnold's going to step up to the plate and hit a walk-off single to win the game like the Tigers did tonight.
I couldn't have said it any better myself. I think it's a great setup for us, man. Attila in the chat says, am I the only one who feels like it's destiny this season in drafting a med, Corey joining Rocked On and winning the Super Bowl? Honestly, man, I would have doubted it a little bit, but I feel like I'm right alongside you, Attila. I think it was destiny that they drafted my brother. I think, man, I just have a feeling he's going to make a clutch play in one of these games come later in the season, and he's going to put his name on the map, and we're all going to be cheering, especially here at the Rocked On channel. I think it's going to be a great season for the Lions. I think it's super exciting to be a part of a fandom that is on the trajectory that the Lions are. I couldn't be more excited to get started, get to Detroit, get to see some of the sites. I don't know, Will, if you got to see the Lions video that they put out. It's on X. But basically they flew a drone around some of the major spots in Detroit, and they had helmets set up in front of those spots. And so that's how they kind of unveiled who we were going to be playing with the appropriate teams' helmets in different places all around the city. And so it's kind of a cool way for me to see some of those familiar spots that I don't know about yet, but I'm sure I will when I come to town to watch our team play and get some wins, in person. I couldn't be more excited, man.
Well, I can't wait to meet you, especially in Detroit, man. We'll give you the grand tour. I'm sure your brother will be well versed in what's going on. So let me put you on the spot. I know I said I wouldn't do this to you, but let me put you on the spot with one question about Mr. Ahmed Hassanin.
Yeah.
When you look at the schedule, let's just say he's in a really good rotational spot from the beginning of the season. I've seen how quick he is and the good bend that he has and the hand fighting skills. I love his work ethic. Realistically, if he's in a great rotational spot to start the season with Davenport and Pascal and Aiden and everybody else and Al-Quddin Muhammad, how many sacks? Where do you see some sacks for your brother? What you might or may not know about the offensive lines right now, where do you think he could have some success? And the reason why I'm asking about him is because it's the rest of the defense should also be able to have some success too. But where do you see him having some success?
Sure. I just think, it's tough for me to throw a number out because I just don't know exactly how the staff is planning on using him. You said rotation, but you gave me a list of about
good
three,
rotation, a good rotation. So
through
he's
three dudes rotating. And so, if he's situational, right? If he's coming in on passing downs, let's say,
the
right, and
third
he's
down.
getting to get after the quarterback, right? Then that's fun for him because he's just going to get to be let loose. I see, the second half of a larger impact and just the wear and tear of the season. He gets some reps under his belt. I love the Giants game. That stretch of 3 home games, the Giants, the Packers, the Cowboys. I would love to see him really leave his mark on those 3 games, maybe get a couple of sacks in there. Going back home to LA, I don't know exactly what that's going to look like, but if a bunch of his high school teammates or community and connection from his high school days come out for that, I could see him getting up for a game like that. Steelers, if in their rebuilding mode, might not be the best team. We might go up big on them and he might get some extra reps. So I promised him I wouldn't say any numbers, right, for production and things like that because you just don't know. But I would say the number that comes to my head just is the number 7. Maybe that's because he's wearing 61.
Sure.
And it's 6 + 1 and just add them together. Well, I'll just tell him that. That's the reason it came to my head, but 7 would be great, man. 7 would be a great building block. I don't know. It could be more, could be less. Again, you never know how the season will play out. But, man, I do know one thing, that when my brother gets a chance, he's going to take advantage of that opportunity. I saw him post, Detroit posted some pictures today, and he was in one of those pictures. And it's on my social media now. He's given this look, and I've seen it before, man. It's a look like, I gotcha. Like he must have done something right before because Tyleek is behind him with a giant grin on his face. And Ahmed's kind of pointing at somebody with this look on his face like, surprised you, didn't I? And I think that's what he's going to do all season long. It's going to be, maybe we're not expecting much because he's a 6th round guy and he's got this crazy background and crazy story. But, man, besides all that, this dude is a baller. Like, I know I'm his brother, but my gosh, this dude, like, he's the real deal on the football field. And I know the staff right now is getting to experience it firsthand. And of course there's going to be growing pains and an adjustment curve. But my goodness, I think like what I've seen him do in the short amount of time I've seen him play football, I just expect to continue to see that happen. And that will end up producing the numbers that you're looking for. So I don't know exactly what number, but yeah, if I had to bet on it, I would bet for success.
So I wasn't necessarily looking for a number. However, the reason why I was asking you, and the other part of the question I want to ask you, and then we'll get out of here, is we haven't had a chance to talk about this, but I won't see you or hear from you for a couple of days, I don't think, right? Are you coming back tomorrow morning?
I'll be back in the morning, but other than that, yeah, tomorrow morning is my last show.
I'm going to save this question for tomorrow.
Okay.
I need to set the record straight with the fan base, and I want to do that with somebody that is closely connected to a defensive end, who was a defensive tackle, someone who's played football. You understand, the football, the lingo, right, and what's going on both sides of the ball. And so there's just I'll leave you with something to think about, because there's this hotly contested thing, I guess, within the fan base, that sacks are the only thing that matter. And so I'm going to leave you with that. Don't answer it, but that sacks are the only thing that matter. And if you don't get sacks, you don't win football games. So I'll leave you with that, and then I will give you the question tomorrow on what I'm really trying to ask you, because I'm not going to prep you. I'm not going to give you my take. I don't know if you watched any of my old shows. I know I haven't said anything about it in the last week, so it'll be interesting to see what you say. When I go through the pictures like I do all the time, at this time, and the one picture I'm looking at right now is Ahmed in his back. And they're under the rollers, right, where they got to get down and they've got to launch and they got to stay underneath, right? I don't know what the thing is called. I don't know what
the sled. I mean, not the sled, the chute. They call that
chute.
The chute.
There you go, the chute.
Yep.
I always thought it was the slide or something, but chute makes sense. He's just so flat. Like his back is parallel, it's parallel to those things, and he's moving. You can tell that he's launching and he's staying low. His pad level's low. And the guy next to him, not as low. And so when I watched him do that figure eight where the hoop drill and one of the it was a pro day workout, and man, he just ran through it. Like he didn't really, he bent around it, but he ran through it and stayed low. And I couldn't believe he did that. Like that was in my opinion, I thought that was great. Body control. He's got really good body control. Yeah. So I'm excited to see where he goes, man. And who cares where you drafted, right? Doesn't matter. James Houston wasn't drafted early. In his rookie season, he bounced out in the last half of the year when he finally got an opportunity and busted out 7 sacks in 8 games. And he was having multiple sacks a game. And he started off against Josh Allen, had 2 sacks in that game. I think it was on Thanksgiving. So it doesn't matter where you drafted. So if he's utilized as a third down weapon, so be it. Take the leash off and go. I'm excited about it.
I think it's funny too. Some guys like to give the argument, he came from Boise State. That's not the NFL. It's like, I did a little research. Marcus Davenport came from University of Texas, San Antonio. I think Boise State's better.
Yeah,
right?
and Marcus Davenport, I'll warn you, he does not get any love from about 50% of this fan base, and
because of his injury history. Correct?
Yeah, but you know what? There's other players in the NFL that have had more injuries. Like we were just talking about bringing Clowney in. Well, Clowney's had more injuries than Marcus Davenport.
Yeah,
and so yeah, this would be a good conversation tomorrow. So think in the realm of, let's have a conversation about defensive ends and defense and what you see matters. And I'll kind of give you my takes. This audience has heard it before. They know exactly where I'm going. So we'll have a conversation about it. I think it'll be fun.
Sounds great.
All right, y'all. Appreciate you getting in here tonight and joining us for the first reaction. Corey gets to see our schedule as a Lions fan and soon to be super fan, right? If he's not already. Look, super fan is just a word. A fan's a fan, right?
We're all super.
We're all great at what we do, man. We're all great at what we do. Which is show up and cheer this team on. You guys are awesome in the chat. I appreciate the heck out of you guys and ladies, and just keep on doing what you're doing. Wish you all nothing but the best, happy health and wealth, and we'll see you guys in the morning. Probably go Detroit Lions. Corey, have a good night, my man. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, you too, brother. See you in the morning.
All right. Bye-bye.